Good morning. I'm so glad that each of you are here today, and I'm excited about the training that we're going to do. We have a great staff and students here at Tennyson Middle School, and there's obviously, not every teacher is going to be perfect, and so we want to be aware of our teachers' needs. So our goal today is to learn how to identify and help our marginally effective teachers. We want to see all of our teachers grow and improve, and some teachers may need a little bit of help with that. We want all of our teachers to live up to their teaching potential, and so we're here to support them in that. As supervisors, we want to coach our teachers to think and reflect on their teaching practices, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at ourselves and assess ourselves as the essential tools that make up an effective supervision, therefore, flowing into an effective teacher where we have effective learning in the classroom. So let's first look at what is a marginally effective teacher. And so we look at that level of abstraction. And so we have teachers that are new to teaching, so that lack of experience. We tend to see first-year teachers and maybe even second and third-year teachers who are marginally effective. It may be because they are just plain inexperienced. Maybe they had the lack of a mentor their first year. Whatever the reason is, it's, we look at these marginally effective teachers, and it's not that, it's easy to say they're a bad teacher. And I don't think that's the case with teachers. I don't think anybody goes into teaching wanting to be a bad teacher. And so we look at maybe there's a lack of experience there. And we need to identify those problems and create solutions for those teachers. Also, there is maybe a problem solving or a situational type problem. So you have to be aware of yourself when you're teaching, and teachers need to always be thinking, and how did that lesson go? What could I do better? And so just having self-awareness and reflecting on those lessons after every period, after every day, after every unit. And so you always want to be looking at, how did I do? What was great? What was not great? Let's tweak that. And so we really need to make sure that that's not a problem when we're looking at that marginally effective teacher. Also, something that definitely we need to think about are personal problems. I think that in life, everybody experiences personal problems, in life. And so we really need to find out what it is maybe that is causing them to lose their effectiveness in the classroom, and if we can help. Because if there's something that we can do to help the classroom and help our teacher, then we want to be able to do that. Some of these personal problems can be short-term, and then you've got some more long-term. So it's really important to identify the problem so you know how to create an effective solution. Another identifying factor in a marginally effective teacher is looking at their level of commitment. Teachers burn out. There's, that 1 to 5 years, the fifth-year teacher that burns out and sometimes goes and looks for another career. You also have teachers who are kind of stuck in their ways, and we know that education is continually evolving, and generations of kids really, they change a lot. And so what, a 20-year veteran teacher, how they taught 20 years ago, it may not be effective today. And if they didn't evolve with education and with the times, they may be stuck. And that could be a burnout because there's frustration there. You need to be able to balance that personal life and professional life. And so maybe you're looking at a situation of what's in it for me, or how much am I going to give them if I'm not going to get this back? And so we want to see maybe where the breakdown is, and if we can remedy that. And there's always the fear of risk, and so we want to make sure that teachers feel like they have that support. And so change is hard, and some people take it head on, and some people, that's not their personality, it's not their character. And so we want to make sure we're giving support to those teachers too that maybe have it in them and they just can't take that next step. So the issues involved in supervision are the diagnosis phase, prescription phase, and the timelines. And so when we look at the diagnosis phase of supervision, we want to look at what's working and what is not working. To really know what that is, you're going to have to get into the classroom. We're going to have to be doing observations on teachers. Obviously we don't want to waste our time on those effective teachers. It's important to see them in action and, to evaluate that. But once you have an evaluation and you have an effective teacher, we need to move on and find our ineffective teachers, our marginally ineffective teachers, so we can get in there and start working on finding what's working and what's not. Once you have that, then you have to decide what needs to change. So what needs to change could be anything from the teacher's actual teaching, the reflection. Maybe they're, going all the way and they're just not really like coming to fruition with the actual lesson. And then you may have classroom problems, teachers who aren't connecting with their students, disengagement. And so it's really important to figure out that what needs to change, and then how much time are you going to give for the actual improvement. When you are thinking about those timelines, you really have to think about, is it a higher level thinking that we're trying to change, or is it behavior? Those timelines are different, and so you have to give justice to what you're asking of that teacher, and how much time do you really think it should take to get your desired outcome? Is it reasonable to think that teacher can remedy that situation in the set amount of time? So there are 3 styles to this supervision. And the first one is a non-directive, and that gives the teacher control of the diagnosis, the prescription, and the timeline. So really you're actively listening more than you are directing and talking. And you want to kind of guide their thinking, and you want to hear their reflection, and so really you're kind of just pulling it out of them and having them be more in control of what it is that was wrong, and what they're going to do to remedy, and how long will it take to do that. Then there's the collaborative style, and that's when the supervisor and teacher share control of the diagnosis. So you've got a lot of dialogue in between you and the teacher, and so it's an opportunity for them to hear you, but also you to hear them. And there's it's what it says, it's a collaborative effort. And so if both of you aren't doing the active listening and the questioning about, what do you think about this? Well, what about this? You're really trying to throw those thoughts out. If both of you aren't really doing that together and analyzing together, then it's not the collaborative approach. I love the idea of this approach, because I always feel like 2 heads are better than 1. And I feel it's you still get your foot in the door and you get to kind of have a little bit of control, but you're not being, so abrasive about it, and it really feels like a shared approach, and that teacher has some ownership and fixing the problem. And I think that's important. Whenever you have, a low, abstraction, you have low commitment, we're looking at the directive style. You know, you can have a low abstraction but a high commitment, or you can have a high abstraction and low commitment. You can have one or the other, and that you should be able to collaborate and kind of remedy that one side. And if you really are high in both of those, that's when that non-directive approach would come in, because really that teacher is pretty much going to guide themselves through it. But when you have low on both the abstraction, low on the commitment, then you're looking at being more of the directive role, and you need to have complete control over that diagnosis, that prescription, and that timeline. Because when you have both of those at the bottom, then you really probably need to take the reins and give more control to that situation and make sure that they know exactly what they need to do. You've kind of passed the phase of them trying to figure it out themselves or guiding them to figure it out themselves. They need that absolute direction to know where they want to go. I hope this has been very informative to you. We're going to take a break, and when we come back in 10 minutes, I would like for us to maybe look at the actual, some actual things that we can use when we go into the classrooms to get that data, and then we can also look at some role play and take some situations and actually use those and figure out which approach we would use, what we're working with. Are we working with an abstraction? Are we working with a commitment issue? And then go back in and look at that diagnosing, prescribing, and the timeline and what style of supervision we're going to follow up with.